The war room fell silent when Admiral Voreth entered. His gray scales caught the dim light as he walked toward the central display table. Around him stood the finest military minds of the Valorian Dominion. They had conquered 12 star systems. They had broken the defenses of species far older than humanity. But today, fear lived in their eyes. Voreth pressed a button, and a holographic image appeared above the table. It showed the burning wreckage of a supply convoy. 17 massive cargo ships reduced to floating debris in the cold darkness of space. "This happened 6 hours ago," Voreth said. His voice was low and tired. "The convoy carried enough weapons to supply 3 armies. Now it is gone." The young officer raised his hand. "Admiral, how many enemy ships attacked?" Voreth looked at him for a long moment. "1," whispers spread through the room like wind through tall grass. "1 ship." One single ship had destroyed an entire convoy protected by 40 warships. "Show them the recording," Voreth ordered. The hologram changed. Now it showed the battle from the perspective of a Valorian cruiser. At first, there was nothing unusual. The convoy moved through space in perfect formation. Escort ships surrounded the cargo vessels like protective parents. Then a shadow appeared. It moved like nothing the officers had ever seen. The ship was small, dark, and impossibly fast. Plasma fire erupted from every direction as the Valorian gunners tried to hit it. But the shadow danced between the shots, as if it knew exactly where each one would go. In 3 minutes, escort ships were disabled. In 5 minutes, the cargo vessels began to explode. In 7 minutes, the battle was over, before the shadow vanished into the darkness of space. It broadcast a single word in an old human language, a word that had become a curse among Valorian soldiers. Spectre Vorsh turned off the recording. "This is the 43rd confirmed attack by this pilot in the past 14 months. She has destroyed more of our ships than entire human battle groups, and we still do not know who she is." Intelligence Director Marith stepped forward. She was old for a Valorian. Her scales faded to pale blue. "We have analyzed every piece of data we could find. Some of our experts believe Spectre is an artificial intelligence. Others think it is a code name used by multiple pilots. A few even suggest she does not exist at all, that she is human propaganda." "Propaganda does not destroy fleets," Voreth replied coldly.
"Admiral?"
"It does not." In the corner of the room, a young intelligence officer named Korith listened carefully. He had been assigned to this project only 3 days ago, but he had already spent countless hours studying the reports. Something about Spectre fascinated him. Not just her skill, which was undeniable. Something else. He raised his hand. The room turned to look at him. Junior officers did not usually speak in meetings like this. "Yes?" Voreth asked, his tone impatient. Korith swallowed his nervousness. "Admiral, I have noticed something strange in the attack patterns. Spectre never targets medical ships. She has had dozens of opportunities to destroy our hospital vessels and rescue craft. Easy kills that would cause chaos in our ranks. But she never takes them." The room was quiet. "She also avoids civilian transports," Koroth continued. "Even when they travel with military convoys, she finds ways to disable them without causing casualties. Her kills are precise. She destroys weapons, engines, and military equipment. But she shows mercy where she does not need to." Marath frowned. "What are you suggesting, young one?" "I am suggesting that Spectre is not a program or a propaganda tool. She is a person. A person with a conscience, and people with consciences usually have reasons for what they do." Voreth studied Korith with new interest. "Go on. I believe Spectre is searching for something. Or someone. If we can discover what she wants, we might be able to predict where she will strike next." The Admiral nodded slowly. "You may have just earned yourself a promotion, Officer Korith. I want you to lead the investigation. Find out everything you can about this ghost. Report directly to me." Korith felt his heart pound with a mixture of pride and fear. He had just been given the most important assignment of his life. He had to hunt the most dangerous pilot in the galaxy, far across the stars. On a small human outpost at the edge of known space, a woman sat alone in a dark hangar. Her name was not spoken here. The mechanics who serviced her ship called her nothing at all. They simply did their work and left quickly, afraid to meet her eyes. She ran her hands along the hull of her fighter. The ship was covered in scars from 100 battles. Its black armor was scratched and dented, but its engines still hummed with deadly power. This ship had carried her through fire and death more times than she could count. Around her neck, she wore a small pendant. It was simple, just a piece of polished metal shaped like a star. Her sister had made it for her years ago, back when the universe still made sense. She touched the pendant and whispered a name. Amara. The sound of footsteps made her turn. A man in a worn military uniform approached. He was older, with gray hair and tired eyes. Commander Davis had been her handler for over a year now. He brought her targets, information, and the supplies she needed to keep fighting. New intelligence came in, he said, holding out a data chip. A Valorian transport was spotted near the Kethron system. It might be carrying prisoners. She took the chip without a word. You know, the Alliance cannot officially support what you are doing, Davis continued. If you are captured, we will deny any connection to you. I know. But between us, what you have done has saved thousands of lives. The Valorians are afraid. For the first time in this war, they are truly afraid. She did not smile. She felt no satisfaction in their fear. Fear was not her goal. She had only one purpose, and it burned inside her like a star that refused to die. She would find her sister. No matter how many ships she had to destroy, no matter how many light years she had to cross, no matter how long it took, she climbed into her fighter and began the startup sequence. The engines roared to life, and the hangar doors slowly opened to reveal the endless darkness of space. Somewhere out there, Amara was waiting. As her ship launched into the void, she activated her communication system. A single word broadcast across all frequencies, a warning to any Valorian ship that might be listening. Spectre. The hunt continued. Back on the Valorian homeworld, Korath worked through the night. He studied battle reports, analyzed flight patterns, and cross-referenced every piece of information he could find. And slowly, a picture began to form. Spectre was not random. Her attacks followed a pattern. They circled around certain locations, certain types of facilities, military prisons, research stations, places where the Dominion kept its darkest secrets. As the morning sun rose over the alien city, Korath made a discovery that changed everything. He found a connection between Spectre's targets and a classified project from 2 years ago. A project called Silence Protocol. His hands trembled as he read the files. Whatever this project was, it had been buried deep. Someone powerful did not want it found, but Korath was going to find it anyway. He was going to learn the truth about Spectre, even if that truth destroyed everything he believed about his people. The Valorian prisoner. Transport drifted through empty space. It was a large ship, built to carry hundreds of captured enemies to facilities where they would be questioned, studied, and eventually forgotten. The crew of 60 felt safe. They were far from any battle zones. Protected by 4 escort ships, then the alarm started screaming. Captain Venix rushed to the bridge just in time to see 2 of his escorts explode in brilliant balls of fire. The third was spinning out of control, its engines destroyed by precise shots that seemed to come from nowhere. "Where is the attacker?" he shouted. His sensor officer was shaking. "I cannot find it, Captain. The ship appears and disappears from our screens like a ghost." Ghost. Venix felt his blood turn cold. There was only one pilot in the galaxy who could do this. The 4th escort tried to run. It did not get far. A dark shadow passed over it, and 3 surgical strikes disabled its weapons, shields, and engines in less than 2 seconds. The ship was left floating and helpless, but alive. Then the shadow turned toward the transport. Venix watched the small fighter approach on his screen. It was beautiful in a terrifying way. The ship moved with impossible grace, like a predator that had already decided its prey would not escape. But instead of firing, the fighter matched speed with the transport. A docking request appeared on their communications panel. She was coming aboard. "All crew, arm yourselves then," X ordered. His voice did not sound as confident as he wanted. Prepare to repel boarders. The airlock hissed open and she stepped through. She wore black armor that seemed to absorb the light around her. Her helmet hid her face completely. In her hands, she carried two small weapons that hummed with deadly energy. She moved down the corridor like water flowing through a stream, natural and unstoppable. The first security team tried to stop her. They failed. She did not kill them, X noticed from the security cameras. She disabled them with precise shots to their legs and arms. Painful, but not fatal. Why? Why would the most feared pilot in the galaxy show mercy to her enemies? X ordered his crew to hide. There was no point in losing more people to this demon. He watched on the screens as she walked through his ship, straight toward the prisoner's cells. She searched each cell carefully. When she found it empty or holding the wrong person, she moved to the next one. She was looking for someone specific, someone who was not on this ship. After 20 minutes, she finished her search. Her shoulders seemed to fall slightly, as if carrying a weight that grew heavier with each disappointment. Then she walked back to her fighter and left without another word. X stood on his damaged bridge, surrounded by groaning wounded crew members, and wondered what kind of person could cause so much destruction while searching for something so clearly personal far away. Korath finally accessed the Silence Protocol files. What he found made him sick. 2 years ago, the Dominion had launched a secret program. They had captured human civilians from neutral space stations and colony ships. Not soldiers. Not spies. Ordinary people, families, children. The purpose was research. Valorian scientists wanted to understand human psychology. They wanted to learn how to break human spirits, how to create propaganda that would make humans surrender without fighting. They treated their subjects like animals in a laboratory. Most of the subjects died during the experiments. The survivors were scattered across secret facilities throughout the Empire. The project was considered a success by military standards, but it was buried deep because its methods would cause outrage if they became public. Korath. Read the names of the victims: farmers, teachers, engineers. A young musician who had been traveling to perform at a cultural festival. Her name was Amara Okonkwo. Korath searched the human military databases that Valorian intelligence had collected. He found a match almost immediately. Commander Yara Okonkwo, elite test pilot, graduated top of her class, awarded 3 medals for bravery. And 18 months ago, she went missing. She stole an experimental stealth fighter and disappeared. The Terran Alliance officially declared her a deserter. Korath stared at the 2 files side by side. Amara and Yara, sisters. One taken by the Silence Protocol. The other transformed into Spectre. Now everything made sense. Yara was not fighting the war. She was searching for her sister. Every attack, every destroyed convoy, every terrified Valorian commander was part of one woman's desperate mission to find her family. Korath felt something he did not expect. He felt sympathy. On a remote asteroid base, Yara removed her helmet and let herself breathe. Another dead end. Another ship searched with no sign of Amara. She sat down on the floor of her tiny quarters and looked at the pendant around her neck. The star shape caught the dim light. Amara had made it when she was 12 years old. She had always been the creative one in the family. Yara was the fighter, the protector, the one who dreamed of flying among the stars. Amara was the artist, the dreamer, the one who saw beauty in everything. When Yara left for pilot training, Amara had given her this pendant. "So you will not forget me," she had said with a shy smile. As if Yara could ever forget. She closed her eyes and remembered. The last time she saw her sister. Amara had been working as a cultural ambassador, traveling to neutral stations to share human art and music with other species. It was supposed to be a safe job. A job far from the war? Then the Valorians came. Yara had been on a mission when she received the news. A neutral station had been raided. Human civilians had been taken. Her sister was among them. She had tried to go through official channels. She had begged her commanders to launch a rescue mission. They told her it was impossible. The civilians were already deep in enemy territory. The risk was too great. The war was more important. That was the moment Yara stopped being Commander Okonkwo. That was the moment she became Spectre. She stole the most advanced stealth fighter ever built. She disappeared into enemy space. And she began her hunt now. 18 months later, she was tired. Her body ached from countless battles. Her mind was exhausted from sleepless nights. But she would not stop. She could not stop. Her communication device buzzed. It was Commander Davis with new intelligence. "We intercepted a transmission," Davis said. "It mentions a facility in the Korvax system. It might be connected to the project that took your sister." Yara felt her heart jump. How reliable is this information? Not very. It could be a trap. "Send me the coordinates." Davis hesitated. "Yara, you have been pushing yourself too hard. You need rest. If you make a mistake now, you will not get another chance." She thought about his words. He was right. She was exhausted. But every day she rested was another day Amara spent in captivity. Another day of suffering. "Send me the coordinates," she repeated. The file arrived moments later. Yara studied the information carefully. The facility in the Korvax system was a research station. Heavy security. Limited access. The perfect place to hide prisoners that the Dominion wanted to forget. It could be a trap. It probably was a trap. But Yara had walked into traps before. She had always walked out again. She climbed into her fighter and began the journey to Korvax. Somewhere in that system, her sister might be waiting, and no amount of danger would keep Yara from finding her. Back on the Valorian homeworld, Korath made his decision. He requested transfer to the Korvax facility. He told his superiors it was to set a trap for Spectre. He would use the prisoners as bait and capture the ghosts that had terrorized their fleet. They approved his request immediately. They were desperate for any solution to the Spectre problem. But Korath had another reason for going to Korvax. He wanted to see the truth with his own eyes. He wanted to meet the prisoners his people had tortured. He wanted to understand what kind of monsters his species had become. And somewhere deep inside, in a place he did not fully understand yet, he wanted to help. The war was about to change. Two enemies were traveling toward the same destination. One hunting for her sister. The other searching for his conscience. They did not know it yet. But their meeting would alter the fate of two civilizations. Korath stepped off the transport ship and looked around the Korvax facility. It was built into an asteroid, hidden from casual observation. The walls were gray metal, and the air smelled stale and recycled. Guards stood at every corner, watching with suspicious eyes. This was a place designed to make people disappear. The facility commander, a stern female named Drevith, met him at the entrance. "Officer Korath, welcome to Korvax. I must admit I am surprised by your visit. We do not usually receive intelligence officers here." "The Spectre situation has made everyone nervous," Korath replied smoothly. "High Command wants to ensure all potential targets are prepared." Dravath nodded, but her eyes remained cold. "We are always prepared. This facility has never been breached. I would like to inspect the prisoner cells." Spectre seems particularly interested in facilities that hold human captives. A flicker of something passed across Drevith's face. Annoyance? Fear? "The prisoners are classified research subjects. Access is restricted." Korath pulled out his authorization document. It carried the seal of Admiral Voreth himself. "My access is not restricted, Commander." Drevith studied the document for a long moment. Then she forced a smile. "Of course, follow me." The prisoner block was in the deepest part of the facility. They passed through 5 security checkpoints before reaching the cells. Each cell was small, with transparent walls that allowed constant observation. Inside, Korath saw humans. They were thin and pale, with hollow eyes that stared at nothing. Some sat in corners, rocking back and forth. Others lay on their beds, motionless except for the slight rise and fall of their breathing. These were not prisoners of war. These were broken people, their spirits crushed by months of cruel experiments. Korath felt his stomach turn. "How many subjects do you have?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. Currently, 14 survivors, Dravith answered. We lost several during the early phases of research. Human minds are surprisingly fragile, survivors. She called them survivors, as if she had done them a favor by keeping them alive. They walked past the cells. Korath looked at each face, searching for the one that matched the file he had memorized. Then he found her. Subject 7. Amara Okonkwo. She sat in the corner of her cell, her knees pulled up to her chest. Her dark hair was tangled and unwashed. Her eyes, which the file said had once sparkled with creativity and joy, now stared blankly at the floor. She was young, barely 20 years old, a musician, an artist, someone who had wanted to share beauty with the universe, and his people had turned her into this empty shell. This one has been unresponsive for 3 months, Dravith explained casually. She stopped speaking after a particularly intensive session. Useless for research now, but we keep her for observation. Korath wanted to scream at Dravith. He wanted to tell her that this was not science. This was cruelty. This was evil. But he kept his face calm. He had a role to play. I would like to speak with her, he said. Dravith looked surprised. She will not respond. We have tried everything. Let me try. The commander shrugged and opened the cell door. Korath stepped inside. The door closed behind him, and he was alone with Amara. He knelt down slowly, keeping his movements gentle. Hello, he said softly. My name is Korath. No response. Her eyes did not even flicker toward him. I know what was done to you. I know it was wrong. I am sorry. Still nothing. Korath did not know what else to say. What words could possibly heal wounds this deep? He sat in silence for a long moment, then stood and left the cell. But something had changed inside him. Seeing Amara had made everything real in a way that files and reports never could. He understood now why Spectre fought so hard. If this was his sister, he would burn down the galaxy to save her too. That night, Korath could not sleep. He kept seeing Amara's empty eyes. He kept thinking about her sister, flying alone through hostile space, fighting impossible odds, holding on to hope that grew smaller with each passing day. His communicator buzzed. Security alert. An unknown ship had been detected entering the Korvac system. Spectre had arrived. Yara approached the facility with caution. Something felt wrong. The security was lighter than expected. The patrol patterns were too obvious, too easy to avoid. It smelled like a trap, but she had walked into traps before. And Amara might be inside. She disabled the outer sensors with precise electronic bursts. Her ship slipped through the asteroid field like a shadow, invisible to all but the most advanced detection systems. She found a maintenance dock on the far side of the facility and landed quietly. The moment her feet touched the metal floor, she was moving. Her armor melted into the darkness. Her weapons hummed softly in her hands. She had studied the facility blueprints during her journey. She knew exactly where the prisoner cells were located. Guards appeared in her path. They fell before they could raise their weapons. She did not kill them. She never killed unless she had no choice. Even after everything, she refused to become the monster they thought she was. Alarms began to wail. She moved faster in the control room. Korath watched Spectre tear through the facility on the security screens. She was everything the legends said. Fast, precise, unstoppable. But he saw something else too. He saw how she checked each fallen guard to ensure they were still breathing. He saw how she avoided shots that would cause permanent damage. This was not a killer. This was a rescuer. Dravith stood beside him, screaming orders into her communicator. All units converge on the prisoner block. Kill her on sight. I do not care about capturing her alive. Korath made his decision. Commander, we should evacuate the control room. She might try to take out our communications. Dravith hesitated. You think she would come here? She has destroyed 17 convoys and 4 carrier groups. She is capable of anything. The commander nodded and began ordering the evacuation. The moment she turned her back, Korath accessed the security system. His fingers flew across the controls. He unlocked the prisoner cells. Yara, reached the prisoner block and found the doors already open. She froze, sensing another trap. But there was no time to be careful. She had to check the cells. She ran from cell to cell, looking at each face. Strange faces. Broken faces. Faces that would haunt her dreams for years. Then she found the one she was searching for. Amara sat in the corner, just as she had been sitting when Korath visited. But now the cell door was open. Now, freedom was steps away. Yara removed her helmet. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at her little sister. Amara, she whispered, "It is me. It is Yara. I came for you. I finally found you." Amara slowly raised her head. Her empty eyes met Yara's. For a moment, there was nothing. No recognition. No response. Then Amara screamed. She pressed herself against the wall, terrified of the stranger before her. She did not recognize her own sister. The experiments had erased too much. Yara felt her heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. "Mara, please. It is me, your sister. Remember the pendant you made me? I still have it. I never stopped looking for you." But Amara kept screaming, kept trying to push herself through the solid wall behind her. The sound of running feet echoed through the corridor. Reinforcements were coming. Yara had to make a choice. She could not carry Amara out by force. Her sister would fight her, slow her down, get them both killed. She reached out her hand slowly. "I will not hurt you. I promise. I will never let anyone hurt you again." Amara's screams faded to whimpers. She stared at Yara's outstretched hand like it was a snake that might bite her. Then a voice spoke from behind them. "We do not have much time." Yara spun around, weapon raised. She found herself pointing her gun at a young Valorian officer. He had no weapon in his hands. He stood there calmly, waiting. "I opened the cells," Korath said. "I can help you escape, but we need to move now." Yara's finger tightened on the trigger. "Why would you help me?" Korath looked past her at the broken young woman in the cell. "Because what we did to her was wrong. Because some crimes cannot be ignored. Because I cannot be part of this anymore." Behind them, the sound of boots grew louder. In a moment, the corridor would be filled with soldiers. Yara had to decide. Trust an enemy or die trying to escape alone. She lowered her weapon. "Lead the way." Korath moved through the corridors with Yara close behind. She carried Amara in her arms. Her sister had stopped screaming, but she trembled like a leaf in a storm. Her eyes squeezed shut. The sounds of pursuit echoed behind them. Soldiers shouted orders. Boots pounded against metal floors. Somewhere, Commander Dravith was screaming for Korath's arrest. He was a traitor now. There was no going back, Sway Korath said, turning down a narrow maintenance passage. "This leads to the emergency shuttle bay. It is less guarded." "Why are you doing this?" Yara asked as they ran. "You are Valorian. This is your war. Your people. My people captured innocent civilians and tortured them for science. That is not a war. That is a crime." He glanced back at her. "And you are not what the reports say either. You could have killed hundreds of my people. Instead, you showed mercy. That is not the behavior of a monster." They reached the shuttle bay. 2 guards stood at the entrance. Korath raised his weapon and fired before they could react. Stun shots. The guards collapsed, unconscious but alive. Yara looked at him with surprise. "I am not a killer either," Korath said simply. They entered the bay. 3 small shuttles sat waiting. Yara headed toward the nearest one, but Korath stopped her. "Wait, the shuttles are tracked. They will follow us the moment we launch. My ship is docked at the maintenance port. It has stealth capabilities." Korath nodded. "Then we go there. But we need a distraction." He moved to one of the shuttles and began programming its autopilot. The shuttle would launch on its own and fly in the opposite direction, drawing the facility's attention away from their true escape route. "Ready?" he said. "Let us go." They left the bay and continued toward the maintenance port. Amara had grown quiet in Yara's arms. Her breathing was steady, but she still would not open her eyes. Yara whispered to her as they moved. "You are safe now. I have you. I will never let you go again. She did not know if Amara could hear her. She did not know if her sister understood, but she kept talking anyway, because hope was all she had left. They reached the maintenance port without encountering more guards. Yara's fighter sat exactly where she had left it, but there was a problem. The ship was designed for one pilot. It could carry 2 people in extreme discomfort. 3 was impossible. Take your sister and go, Korath said. I will find another way out. Yara shook her head. You helped us. I will not leave you to die. There is no other choice. There is always another choice. She handed Amara to Korath carefully. Her sister whimpered, but did not scream this time. Then Yara climbed into her ship and began working on the internal systems. After 10 minutes of rapid modifications, I removed some equipment to create extra space. It will be uncomfortable, but we will all fit. Korath stared at her. You damaged your own ship? The ship that has kept you alive for 18 months? My ship can be repaired. Your life cannot. For the first time since this nightmare began, Korath felt something warm in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize the feeling. It was gratitude. They squeezed into the fighter. Korath held Amara while Yara took the pilot seat. The engines roared to life. Outside, alarms wailed as the facility realized what was happening. Hold on, Yara said. Then she launched. The ship burst out of the maintenance port and dove into the asteroid field. Behind them, Valorian fighters scrambled to pursue. But Yara flew like she was born in the void. She twisted through gaps that seemed too small. She spun past rocks that should have crushed them. She moved so fast that the pursuing ships could barely track her. Korath had seen the battle recordings. He had studied her maneuvers, but experiencing them in person was something else entirely. He understood now why his people called her a ghost. She flew as if the laws of physics were mere suggestions. One by one, the pursuing ships fell behind. Some crashed into asteroids. Others lost sight of them in the dense rock field. Within 20 minutes, they were alone in empty space. Yara set a course for neutral territory and engaged the autopilot. Then she turned to check on Amara. Her sister had fallen asleep in Korath's arms. It was the first peaceful rest Amara had probably experienced in months. Even in sleep, she clung to Korath's uniform like a child holding a blanket. She is strong, Korath said quietly. To survive what she endured, she must have incredible strength. Yara nodded, not trusting herself to speak. They traveled in silence for hours. Eventually, Korath spoke again. I owe you an explanation. About the silence protocol? I already know what it was, but you do not know everything. Korath took a deep breath. The program was not officially sanctioned. A group of officers created it in secret because they believed the ends justified the means. When High Command discovered what was happening, they shut it down, but they also covered it up. They hid the evidence. They scattered the survivors across forgotten facilities so no one would ever learn the truth. Yara's hands tightened on the controls. They covered it up instead of fixing it. Instead of returning the victims to their families, yes, they were more afraid of scandal than justice. Korath looked down at Amara's sleeping face. I always believed my people were honorable. I believed we fought this war for good reasons. But I cannot believe that anymore. Not after seeing what we did to her. Yara was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something Korath did not expect. Not all Valorians are evil. I have killed many of your soldiers, but I have also let many live. I see them as individuals, not as a species. You are proof that I was right to see it that way. It was the closest thing to forgiveness Korath could hope for. They reached neutral space and landed on a small trading station. It was a rough place, full of smugglers and refugees, but it was safe from both the Valorian Dominion and the Terran Alliance. Yara carried Amara to a medical facility run by an independent charity. The doctors examined her sister and confirmed what Yara already feared. The psychological damage was severe. Recovery would take years if it was even possible, but Amara was alive. That was more than Yara had dared to hope for during those long months of searching. While Amara rested in the medical bay, Yara and Korath sat together in a small waiting room. What will you do now? Yara asked. Korath laughed bitterly. I am a traitor. The Dominion has already issued an execution order. I cannot go home, and the Terran Alliance will not trust you. No, I imagine they would rather put me in a cell and question me until I have nothing left to give. Yara considered his words. You could disappear. Find some quiet corner of the galaxy and live out your days in peace. I could, Korath paused. But I will not. What my people did was wrong. The prisoners we rescued from Korvax are proof of that. But there are other facilities. Other prisoners, hundreds of humans still suffering in places like the one we escaped. Yara looked at him sharply. How do you know that? Because I read the files. The silence protocol was larger than anyone realized, and before I left the facility, I heard your sister say something. She whispered it while she was half asleep. Yara leaned forward. What did she say? She said there are others. A hidden station. The main facility where the worst experiments took place. The Dominion thought they closed it down, but the scientists moved it to a secret location. Amara heard the guards talking about it. Yara felt a cold fire ignite in her heart. Hundreds of innocent people, still trapped, still suffering. Her mission was not over. Do you know where this station is? No, but with your skills and my knowledge of Dominion systems, we might be able to find it. Yara looked at Korath for a long moment. An alien. A former enemy. Someone she would have killed without hesitation just a few days ago. Now he was offering to help her save human lives. The universe was strange sometimes. We will need allies, she said. A crew, ships, resources. I have some contacts who might help. People in the Dominion who share my doubts about the war. I have friends in the Alliance who have been waiting for a chance to strike back. Korath extended his hand. It was a human gesture, one he had learned from the cultural files. Partners, then? Yara took his hand. Partners. Behind them, unheard, Amara spoke for the first time in months. Yara. Her voice was barely a whisper. Broken and weak. But it was the most beautiful sound Yara had ever heard. She rushed to her sister's side. Amara's eyes were open. They were still haunted, still damaged. But there was recognition in them now. A spark of the person she used to be. I am here, Yara said, tears streaming down her face. I'm here. I will never leave you again. Amara reached up with a trembling hand and touched the pendant around Yara's neck. The star shape she had made years ago, in another life. You kept it, Amara whispered. Please. I promised you I would never forget. The sisters held each other, while Korath stood quietly by the door. He was a stranger in this moment, but he understood its importance. The war was not over. The enemy was still powerful. And somewhere in the darkness of space, hundreds of innocent people waited for rescue. But for this one moment, there was hope. And hope was worth fighting for. 3 weeks had passed since the escape from Korvax. Amara was slowly recovering. She still had nightmares. She still flinched at sudden sounds. But each day, small pieces of her old self returned. She had started humming again, fragments of songs from their childhood. To Yara, it sounded like angels singing, but there was no time for rest. The hidden station haunted Yara's thoughts. Hundreds of people suffering the same torture Amara had endured. She could not abandon them. Yara stood before a holographic display in a rented warehouse on the trading station. Around her sat a strange collection of allies. Commander Davis had come with 3 other Alliance officers who believed the truth needed to be exposed. Korath had brought 2 Valorian defectors, soldiers who had seen the silence protocol files and could no longer serve their government. There were also smugglers, independent pilots, and refugees who simply wanted to help. 12 people in total. Not an army. But maybe enough. Korath activated the display. A map of Valorian space appeared, with a red dot marking a location deep inside enemy territory. This is the station, he explained. We traced communications from the Korvax facility. The main silence protocol operation was never shut down. It was moved here to a converted mining platform in the Terith Nebula. Our estimates suggest between 200 and 400 human prisoners are being held there. One of the smugglers whistled. That is deep in Dominion territory. How are we supposed to reach it without being detected? That is where I come in, Yara said. I have been flying through their space for 18 months. I know their patrol patterns, their sensor gaps, their weaknesses. I can get us there. And then what? Davis asked. Even if we reach the station, it is protected by a defensive fleet. 10 warships at minimum. We have 3 fighters and a cargo ship. Yara smiled. It was not a happy smile. We will not fight the fleet. I will give them something else to worry about. She explained her plan. It was bold. It was dangerous. It was possibly insane. But it might work. She would fly in alone, broadcasting her presence to the entire Valorian fleet. For years they had feared Spectre. They had hunted her without success. Now she would offer herself as the ultimate prize. Every ship would focus on her, trying to capture or kill the ghosts that had terrorized their empire, while she kept them busy. Korath would lead a small team to the station. They would dock quietly, release the prisoners, and load them onto the cargo ship. By the time the Valorians realized what was happening, the prisoners would be in hyperspace, heading for neutral territory. And what about you? Amara asked quietly. She had insisted on attending the meeting, though she still looked fragile. What happens to you while you distract an entire fleet? Yara did not answer immediately. Amara pressed. You cannot sacrifice yourself. Not after everything. I do not plan to die. But if it happens, at least it will mean something. Those prisoners deserve a chance. I can give them that chance. Amara stood up, her thin body shaking with emotion. No, I refuse. You did not spend 18 months searching for me just to throw your life away. I will not allow it. Amara, this is bigger than us. Bigger than our family? Then I am coming with you. The room fell silent. Yara stared at her sister in shock. Absolutely not. You are still recovering. You cannot fight. I cannot fight. But I can help with the rescue. Those prisoners are like me. They have been through what I have been through. They will be terrified, confused, unable to trust anyone. I can talk to them. I can help them understand that rescue is real. Korath nodded slowly. She has a point. The prisoners will not trust Valorians, even defectors, and they might not trust human soldiers either, after everything they have experienced. But someone who shared their suffering, someone who survived it, they might trust her. Yara looked at her little sister. She saw the fear in Amara's eyes, but she also saw determination. The same determination that had kept Amara alive through months of torture, the same strength that allowed her to speak again after everyone thought her mind was destroyed. If anything happens to you, I will never forgive myself. Amara reached out and took Yara's hand. And if you die while I hide somewhere safe, I will never forgive myself either. We do this together, or not at all. Yara squeezed her sister's hand. Together, then? The mission launched 5 days later. Yara's fighter emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Tereth Nebula. Immediately, she activated her communications and broadcast on all frequencies. This is Spectre. I know you are looking for me. Come and find me. The Valorian fleet responded instantly. 10 warships turned toward her position. Fighters launched from every carrier. The entire defensive force abandoned the station to chase the ghost they had feared for so long. Yara flew like she had never flown before. She dove into the nebula, using its gases and radiation to confuse enemy sensors. She spun through asteroid fields, leading the pursuit deeper and deeper into the chaotic space. She destroyed weapons and engines. She did not kill unless she had no choice. Behind the chaos, the cargo ship slipped toward the station unnoticed. Korath led the boarding team through the station's maintenance tunnels. They encountered guards, but the element of surprise was on their side. Within 30 minutes, they reached the prisoner block. What they found was worse than Korvax. Hundreds of cells, filled with broken humans. Men, women, children. Some stared blankly at the walls. Others screamed at the sight of their rescuers. The smell of fear and despair hung in the air like poison. Amara stepped forward. It is okay, she said, her voice gentle but clear. I know you are scared. I was scared too. I was a prisoner, just like you. But these people are here to help. They are going to take us home. A young boy in the nearest cell looked at her with hollow eyes. Home? Amara knelt down to his level. Home. Where no one will hurt you ever again. The boy reached out his hand. Amara took it. One by one, the prisoners began to move. They were weak. Many needed to be carried, but they moved. Hope spread through the cells like sunrise spreading across a dark world. In the nebula, Yara's luck was running out. Her ship was damaged. Her shields were failing. Dozens of enemy fighters surrounded her, and more were coming. She had kept the fleet busy for over an hour. She could not last much longer. Then the communication she had been waiting for arrived. Spectre, this is Korith. We have the prisoners. We are away. Relief flooded through Yara. She had done it. They had done it. Now, she just had to survive. She pushed her damaged ship into one final maneuver, diving straight toward the largest Valorian carrier. Enemy fire came from every direction. Her hull cracked. Her engines screamed in protest. At the last moment, she pulled up and shot past the carrier's bridge, close enough to see the shocked faces inside. Then she activated her hyperspace drive. The jump was rough. Her ship shuddered and groaned as it tore through the fabric of space. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Systems failed one after another, but she made it. Her ship emerged in neutral space and immediately began to fall apart. She managed to broadcast a distress signal before losing consciousness. She woke up in a medical bay. Korith stood beside her bed, looking tired but relieved. You made it. The prisoners. All safe. 347 people. They are being treated at relief stations throughout neutral space. The news has already spread. Both the Terran Alliance and several neutral powers are demanding answers from the Dominion. They cannot hide the silence protocol anymore. Yara closed her eyes. 347 people. 347 families reunited. 347 reasons why the suffering had been worth it. Where is Amara? Here Yara opened her eyes. Her sister stood in the doorway, looking healthier than she had in months. There was color in her cheeks again. Life in her eyes. You scared me, Amara said, walking to the bedside. When your ship came out of hyperspace in pieces, I thought I lost you. I promised I would never leave you. I keep my promises. Amara smiled through her tears. I know. The war did not end that day. But the peace talks began. The revelation of the Silence Protocol had changed public opinion on both sides. Many Valorians were horrified to learn what their government had done. Many demanded justice and reform. It took 2 more years of negotiations. But eventually, a ceasefire was signed. Then a treaty. The galaxy began to heal. YARA was offered medals and honors. She refused them all. She had not fought for glory. She had fought for family. On a quiet world far from the scars of war, Yara sat beside her sister on a grassy hill. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Amara held a small instrument in her hands, a gift from one of the rescued prisoners. She was teaching herself to play again. Do you ever think about going back? Amara asked. Being Spectre again? Yara shook her head. That part of my life is over. Spectre was a ghost. I am ready to be human again. She touched the pendant around her neck. The star shape glittered in the fading light. Amara smiled. I am glad you kept it. I will always keep it. It reminds me of what matters. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky. Across the galaxy, the legend of Spectre lived on. They told stories about the ghost who haunted the stars, pilot who fought alone against an empire, the mystery who became the enemy's nightmare. Some said she was a program. Some said she was a weapon. Some said she never existed at all. But on that quiet hill, under that peaceful sky, there was only Yara, a sister, a survivor, a woman who had crossed the universe for love and, against all odds, found her way home. The stars twinkled above them, endless and beautiful. And for the first time in years, Yara felt truly at peace.